All right, welcome into another edition of Catching Up with Tommy Mack here on 1010XL's podcast platform at 1010XL.com. Of course, on demand as well on the website and on their app. We're on Facebook, on 1010XL's Facebook page, and, of course, streaming live on the relevant app on the Jaguar channel, the Jaguar Fanatics channel. Come join us and have a good time. Brought to you by Relevant, brought to you by my friends at QC Kinetics. I'm going to tell you more about them. I just had my first treatment last week, shot to the shoulder, shot to the knee from my own blood. We'll talk about it, but so far, so good. 1 of 4 treatments. Stay tuned for that. Also brought to you by my good friends at Goodfellas Cigar Lounge and Spirits right there on St. John's Bluff Road, man. Check them out for a daily smoke, whatever. You go in there, got great Wi-Fi. It's nice and quiet during the day. Have a smoke. They got TVs everywhere, little light music playing. Then at night, it gets cranky, man. It's absolutely a phenomenal place to go and hang out. All right, hope you all had a great weekend. Of course, Super Bowl Sunday. This is the recap show. Before I do, I got to brag just a tiny bit as I was up in Savannah, Georgia, once again for a Nancy Dance competition show against I don't know how many studios there were there, but definitely at least 6 to 10, somewhere in that range. And Nancy Dance Studios did very well, and my Harley Mae, my youngest lioness, and her 2 teammates, Emery and Ella, for their trio, was the highest point winner in the entire thing. So how about that? Way to go, girls. Very good. So I agree. The highest total, the entire thing. So very, very awesome. And before I get into the Super Bowl, I want to say this. Me and my girls, my wife included, thought Rihanna was awesome. For her to be up there pregnant, way up there, I was scared. I was like, oh, my gosh, that thing's shaking. It's moving. I thought she was unbelievable. I don't know what you want out of a performance. To me, the dancers were cool. The white and the red, that was cool. Her outfits were cool. She looked great. Best. She sounded great.
One of the best halftime shows in a long time.
I don't know why people are bitching about you. Like, what's your problem? Like, it was great.
Bro,
it's great.
I mean,
you can't please everybody.
Prime Michael Jackson could go out there and do Billie Jean and Thriller, and someone would complain about it. She was amazing.
I thought so too, man. I like her music too. She's cool.
Well, that's like my generation. Yeah. So, dude, I probably knew every word of every song. Like,
so listen, I was in a hotel room watching a nice hotel room downtown Savannah. We were gonna go to an establishment. I'm like, you know what? Let's just order food and watch it at the room. We hauled ass there. And we were singing every tune. I mean, my girls and my wife love that stuff. And by the way, I was saying, my daughter's like, Dad, what do you think's the first song? And I was like, I don't know, because I couldn't really, I don't know all the songs. I'm like,
let me think of a Rihanna song
first. Shine bright like a diamond, maybe. I don't know. I'm like, what? No, it's not going to be that. And she came out with, bitch, better have my money. I love that song. My wife loves that too, and I love it.
Pay me great. What you want it.
Yeah, yeah, man. I love her, man. She was great. Listen, I thought the game was a great game. It was. It was so tight. Tale of two halves. You know, people are complaining about the way it ended. I mean, look, we're going to get into it. But look, a lot of things happened in this game that, Philly could have controlled a little bit better and maybe would have won the game. Very significant. 3, in my opinion, which we'll get into. But I don't know. As far as the Super Bowl, what else do you want out of a Super Bowl? Come down to the last second, come down to a last-second field goal, come down to making smart decisions. Come down. Look, I don't know if it's controversial because it happened when it happened. And look, you would have given the Eagles plenty of time to do something. Doesn't mean they would have, right? Everyone's like, oh, well, they would have had all this time and gone right down and scored. Maybe so. I think they got after him a little bit better in the second half. I was surprised. I got to credit my father-in-law too, Dan, because we were talking about last night, and he made a good point. He's like, why didn't he run more in the second half? Jalen, like, man, you were crushing it. And then that kind of went away. I think they chased him out of the pocket a lot. I think he was under duress a lot. But and he's a great player too, man. Both quarterbacks. I mean, Mahomes been on a mission. I've been saying it for weeks. He's on a mission. They were out to prove that, no, we're still the king of this league. I'm still the king. The torch is passing, if it hasn't already, to Pat Mahomes. And by the way, I'm not calling him Patrick anymore. I'm calling him Pat Mahomes. You know why? Because Kelsey calls him Pat. So I'm calling him Pat from now on. Kelsey's like, Pat Mahomes, man. I'm like, That's cool. They call him Pat. Everyone's like, Patrick. I'm calling him Pat from now on. What a player. What a second half. No doubt. His stats were nothing, but the 3 touchdowns were something. 3 plays that killed him, okay? The punt return. Seriously? I mean, he goes this way. You can't get – you know what I mean?
That's Kadarius Toney for you.
Come on, man. Get an angle. You're going to fire the special teams coach? That was terrible. Great job by Toney. And by the way, Toney's touchdown, what did it remind you of?
Oh, Agnew.
Why didn't we use that against the Chiefs? You know what I mean? I mean, we could have had that one against the Chiefs.
Bieniemy said that they decided to design that play based off of the Jags game.
Yeah, he did. Okay.
Because
I didn't see that.
Because when they man up and there's motion in the backfield, they pass it off.
Right. No. But remember when I said when they go in motion, that guy that has a man, he's eventually going to turn to look. He turned his head and boom, came right out. Fantastic play. That's great.
They ran it twice.
I know.
And it worked both times.
I know.
Both times you and I could have thrown and caught that pass and walked in.
Maybe. I don't know. I'm not saying
I don't know if we would have executed the motion.
Yeah.
But once we got the motion part, we're good.
But those were 2 big plays, no doubt about it. Obviously, the fumble and that Bolton, man, he almost had 2 touchdowns returned. They call that. What was the second one? What happened on? Was it incomplete?
Miles Sanders caught it. He kind of caught it and turned around right away.
Right, yeah. I didn't think that was a catch. I didn't think Agnew's was a catch either.
It was one of those where in slow motion it looks like a catch because it's so much longer.
Right.
But you watch it real time, you're like, he didn't catch that ball.
No, he didn't catch that ball. But that guy, what a player, man. We saw that. Him and the other backer, Willie Gay. They fly around, man, and make a lot of plays. That was big. Jalen's fumble was big. The Mahomes scramble killed you. Absolutely killed you. And you know what's funny? So I think I heard Baloo talk about this last night, but I got to mention it. So my girls, including my wife, they follow these, players and their wives on TikTok or whatever.
Right,
whatever. And they follow Mahomes' wife. They follow Trevor's wife too. And they love her. They think she's so cool, Dad. And all this stuff. I don't see what she does. I barely even see what Trevor does on that stuff. But they do enjoy it. My number 2, Kelsey, follows Burrow. She thinks Burrow's the hottest. I mean,
my girlfriend does
too. Dad, Burrow this, Burrow that, or whatever.
My girlfriend's the same way.
Yeah, right. But they said, Mahomes. But even before, this is during the game, we started talking about it. And they're like, oh, Mahomes' wife is so annoying, Dad. I mean, she complains and this and blah, 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 and all this stuff. Anyway, so my wife, he was like, I wonder if Mahomes is a little dramatic, and then you see him hurt the ankle and he's got his head on the shoulder,
He's
and they're
grimacing.
And then he comes out and then the scramble, they're all looking at each other like, what was that?
Right.
Like, how did he go from, oh my gosh, my leg's dead, I'm never going to make it to, nobody can catch him. I mean, right up the gut. His second half was phenomenal. That's why he's MVP. I mean, he deserves it. Look, I'll tell you who really deserves. This is what's crazy about this game, right? Going in, did you think that only 2 sacks would happen in the entire game? Did you think Philly would have 0 sacks? 5 QB hits, but 0 sacks.
They were talking about it on Good Morning Football.
Dude, I mean, I'm telling you.
They were talking about this morning on Good Morning Football how the Chiefs' right tackle
Wiley kicked the crap out of Reddick.
Yes, and he's
been
2
considered,
hits,
but
he's been considered a weak link all year.
I know.
And he just handled Hassan Reddick.
Dude, he was one of my keys to the game. That he's got to have a good game, and he did. That O-line, they gave up 26 sacks the entire year.
He stoned his ass.
And they did. They got after it, man. You didn't hear much of anything. You didn't. Now, the Chiefs, 2 sacks, so they got after it a little bit. Of course, Leo Chenal had a great game. But how about that? You would have thought that the defenses would have got off. Now, there was some pressure on Mahomes in the first half, and there was pressure on Jalen in the second half. It kind of flipped. It was a tale of 2 halves. First half, 24-14 Eagles. Second half, 24-11 Chiefs. Think about that. That's where obviously the 3-point the 3-point spread. All right, I got to give a little bit of credit to McKinnon. What a smart play by stopping at the 1 and stepping out of bounds. And you know what? Don't give me this. That was a bad – somebody's wife, who was bitching, the return guy from the Eagles, that's not the way to end a game. Or like, shut up. Like, what are you talking about? You have the ball. You were able to run down the clock. Now, we're going to get into the penalties. I know a lot of people. Look, and I'm going to tell you, sorry, I told Graham off there. Wasn't that pretty cool?
Oh,
how
yeah.
It worked
Very
out.
Cool.
So anyway, the call, 3rd and 8. Huge call. It was the right call, and I'm going to tell you why. I know a lot of people are like, no, it's tic-tac, it's this and that. Look, the back judge made the call. I believe it would be him because that's what's in front. It's not the field judge who's by the linebackers. It's the back judge. He sees the tug. The tug could only be for a split second. The first tug. I'm not talking about the arm around. I don't think that would have caused a penalty. I really don't. I think that first initial yank of the jersey, that's what caused the penalty. And if you're the ref and you see it and it impedes his route, which it did, it maybe only for a hair, but you saw him stop for a quick second. Now, what does that mean? I think it means, look, if he doesn't tug him, then, because he already got around him, that's where the second arm came around the waist, right, and the back. He's already up above him, so give him a little bit more. Now he's got a chance to make the catch. Now, I'll give you more credit if you would have said, well, wait a minute, that's an uncatchable ball. Maybe, because maybe it was, but we don't know because why? Because that route was impeded. Even in a split second. I know everyone's crying, and it's part of the game. Do you remember? And it sucks. I get it, because we all do it. I mean, you kidding me? You do it all the time. You tug all you... Yeah, that's a way to keep a guy close. And if they don't call it, it's a great move. So different than offensive linemen, what they do. If they don't call it, it's not holding, right? Right. They call it, it's holding. So let me tell you a story about yesterday that was really cool. So I have a meeting at lunch with these 2 older gentlemen. It doesn't matter what their names are. They're, I don't know, late 60s, early 70s, somewhere on there. And one of them, who I'd never met before, played football at Penn State and was a field judge in a crew for the Big 8, back when there was a Big 8. And if those of you that remember, the Big 8 used to be wicked strong. Nebraska, Oklahoma, Colorado. I mean, those really Nebraska and Oklahoma. I think Texas was in there too, right? So, I mean, they were big time. So he's talking about, and I didn't know this. I was like, oh, no kidding. How poignant after last night's call, right? You know, and this was yesterday. And he's like, yeah, so let me tell you a story. So we're officiating the Big 8. It was a Big 8 title game or implications to get there, and it had national implications. Nebraska against Oklahoma, and they're at Nebraska. So my newfound friend here is the field judge, and Nebraska's on offense. Nebraska runs this counter tray, and the back takes it to the house from like 53, 58 yards out. Well, my man, the field judge, sees the guard pull around and reaches inside the defender and yanks him a little bit, and you can see it, the guy's shoulder go down, and the back goes around him. Out comes the flag. And Tom Osborne goes crazy, the Nebraska coach. Just absolutely out of his mind, swearing at him up and down, tell him what a bum he is, what a chicken you-know-what call it, all this stuff. And he's like, whatever, man. I saw him pull him. I'm calling. I got to call what I see. Anyway, 2 years or whatever years later, maybe 2 or 3 years, Nebraska's playing in the Coca-Cola Bowl or PepsiCo, whatever bowl, and it's over in Tokyo, and he's flying over with the team. They stop in Vancouver. They all get out to stretch their legs, hit the duty-free, whatever. And he's standing there, and up comes Osborne. And he's sitting there like, I'm like, oh, my gosh, how's this going to go? And Coach Osborne went out to him and said, hey, you made the right call. I apologize for the way I acted. He did hold him. He tugged him. Now, here's my question. And I didn't ask this. I probably should have, but I think I know the answer. Do you think, and I'll ask you, Graham, do you think during the game, say, let's just use hypotheticals here, okay? Just hear me out. So say the Chiefs get called for a defensive holding that was a quick tug, whatever, earlier in the game. Do you think the refs get together and say, hey, if you see it on the other side, you got to call it now? Do you think they say that to each other like, hey, make sure you're looking out for any little bit. This is a big part of the game, or the back judge is just sitting there going, hey, I'm watching the play. I see the tug. It impedes him. What do you want me to do? Not call it? Now, again, you could call uncatchable, but you don't know if it is because the route is stopped. He does get a beat on him. So I don't know. It's the right call in my book, and I don't have a fight in this, and I don't care. It doesn't matter who wins this game. To me, I thought the Eagles were going to win by 1 point. Last-second field goal missed. He did miss a field goal. Granted, I want to go back real quick before you answer. I'm sorry. It was 3rd and 8 from the 15 with 1:54 to go. And I'm going to give me and my man Graham here a little credit because this is where the NFL's got to change the rule. Call it inadvertent. Call it inadvertent. If he yanks him and totally yanks him, like it's still like really vile, yeah, that's a 15-yard first down penalty. But a little tiny tug could be an inadvertent, You could fall under that. Now it's only a 5-yard penalty, and it's 3rd and 3. You know what I mean? That may be the gripe here. Why do these calls have to be so detrimental? You know what I mean? Give him a 5-yard penalty, fine. If it gives him a first down, fine, we'll live with it. But, man, first down on the 11, you know what I mean?
I don't know. When there's already so much.
I'm bitching now, but I'm not trying. I'm trying to be the devil's advocate. But, again, I'll stand by the call. It was the right call. Don't tug him. Don't tug him.
And I agree with you that it was the correct call. I think it was. And I also think that if you're arguing that it was a bad call because you don't believe it was a penalty, then I'm willing to listen to that argument.
Yep.
The argument I'm not willing to listen to is you can't call it in that moment.
No, you can.
No, if it's a penalty, it's a penalty.
Right.
First quarter, second quarter,
right.
Fourth quarter, it doesn't matter.
Right.
What do you think? It's kind of like what you just said. It's like,
right.
What, do you think the refs get together and say, well, that was a penalty, but in this moment, we're not going to call? No.
Right.
Hell no.
You think the ref comes over and be like, hey, man, you can't call that. It's too critical of a game.
Right, exactly. It's like
too critical part of the game.
It's a penalty or it's not.
Hey, let's do another hypothetical. Say the ball, the contested play, is in the end zone, and just for a split second, that defender hits the arm down, right?
Right.
And just for a second, then lets it go. What do you think they're going to call? And they see it. They're going to call it. They're going to call PI. They're going to call defensive holding. So, look, you can sit there and be like, that definitely was a critical part of the game. There's no doubt. There's no guarantee you go down and score. Maybe you do. Second half, you only scored 11 points. It wasn't like you were killing them like you did in the first half. Maybe you do. Maybe you don't. I did look up the TD drive before that last drive by the Chiefs that the Eagles had, right, to tie it up, then the 2-point.
Yeah.
Devontae Smith was wide open on a blown coverage on that deep throw.
Really?
He's wide open.
Oh, you're talking about, yes.
He was wide open.
Yeah.
So now what does that mean? Nothing, really. I'm just saying
where he
that,
caught it and
got
out of bounds.
Because they went down and
yeah.
scored. That guy was wide open. I don't know, maybe. And by the way, how is that turf so crappy? Even on the last throw, he slipped.
I know.
I can't believe all the money you put into the Super Bowl and you don't have the best surface going with nothing. No, you're not even, the elements weren't even a factor.
So
that just blows my mind.
It's interesting with that stadium because that's been
the problem in the past,
and
right?
As far as I know, correct me if I'm wrong, as far as I know, they're the only stadium, I believe, that is indoors or mostly indoors. I know they have the top.
They can do the retractable.
That's not a turf field.
Yeah.
And players hate turf.
No, I know.
So it's interesting because...
You mean the synthetic turf?
Yes.
Yeah. Players like grass, but good grass that doesn't slip.
Well, right, but that's what I'm saying is like, if you have an outside stadium, like a totally outside stadium, like we have here in Jacksonville,
right,
that grass is going to get the sunlight and rain that it needs to just stay where it is
and be strong.
But because this stadium is for the most part indoors, that they roll it out and roll it back in.
Right. Well,
so you wonder if that has to have something to do with it, right?
It does. And if they don't change that, they should never be able to host the Super Bowl again. You can't. I mean, I'm sorry. It's not like it's a pouring down rain show like it was when Indy played Chicago with Miami. Yeah. That's different. Guys are saying it's raining. That's part of the game. Fine, but are you kidding me? That's horse manure.
That stadium has hosted a ton of championships.
Yeah.
Super Bowls, and it hosts a national championship like every 4 or 5 years.
No, right.
So because they're the Tostitos Bowl.
Right.
So.
Right. All right, so I'm going to give stats, just a few, because I didn't do all of them, but third down and yards per carry, really kind of the story of the game. The Eagles got shut down on the run, besides Jalen killing them. 3.6 yards a carry for the rest of them. The Chiefs, on the other hand, averaged 6.1 yards a carry.
That's the biggest storyline I feel like not enough people are talking about.
No, they shut him down. I mean, Miles Sanders did nothing. He had one run, I think, for 9 yards. And other than that, he got shut down. They didn't have any. That one guy, number 14, Barnwell, I like him a lot. He was effective near the end zone, but overall, he didn't really have a big outing. Of course, Jalen's, you pay that man right now. He's going to be a stud for a long time. He really is, man. He can. That throw to A.J. Brown was a thing of beauty, man, because he threw it to where he was going to go get open. And he threw it in the right spot and was 50 yards floating in the air like a beautiful rocket.
He's a professional, too. He doesn't complain about anything. No. That guy, if there's ever been somebody that's been given reasons to quit, it's him.
No doubt.
Multiple times through his career, bro.
Look where he's come from.
Nobody's giving him a chance. Tua's better than you. Carson Wentz is better than you. You're never going to be the guy. And
whatever.
All he does is just keep working. And I love Jalen Hurts.
And that
he's one of my favorite guys in the league that doesn't play for our Jags.
That QB sneak, he can't stop. He's so strong in his
impossible.
Legs.
He squats 600 pounds.
Chris Jones jumped over the line and hit him, and he still got it.
Honestly, that's probably the best attempt to try to stop him.
That's all you can do.
Because when the offensive line is just jetting out, what else are you going to do?
No, you got to time that up. But, look, great year. You can look at, if you're a Jaguar fan, hey, we were toe-to-toe with the Chiefs. So were the Eagles. And the Eagles kicked the crap out of us earlier in the year, and we obviously came back a lot stronger in that second half. But a great year. If you're a Jag fan, what are you thinking? You're thinking, you know what? We're not that far away. We're still far away because it's hard to get there. But I tell you what, you get some more pieces to the puzzle, you got something there.
The main thing I'm thinking is to make a deep run in the playoffs.
Yep.
I'm looking around at all the other teams that made deep runs for the most part.
Yep.
They all had really good young QBs that they drafted.
Yep. That's right.
And we got one of those.
We do.
So I feel pretty damn good in terms of that.
I do, too. No, I feel really good about it. I want to see what they do in the offseason because that's going to be very important. Doug having a year, under his belt with his culture, his system, his philosophy, his play calling, guys are going to love it even more. And again, I'll go back to what Kelsey said during the week. Andy gets me open. That's the game today, man. And it's great.
That's what Doug does for Evan Ingram. Same thing.
And everybody. I mean, look, even the Tony touchdown, that little motion got him open.
Wide open, yeah.
Boom, hit come back out. It's hard to, you think about guarding someone in basketball one-on-one. If they get by you a little bit, you have a chance to potentially recover if you take the right angle. You know what I mean?
Because they still got to dribble. Not if they blow by you,
but they still have to, it's not like they just jet right there. They got to, you still have a chance. In football, you don't.
Right.
You know what I mean? You don't. It's really, really hard. So when you get open like that and the ball's delivered on time in the right spot, your playmaker's going to make a play. And Travis Kelce, he's one of the best playmakers out there, man. He's beast.
Oh, he's insane.
He's a beast.
But I think you look at kind of what we were just talking about with the Jags, with Andy Reid.
Sure, I got everything. Yep.
I mean, look, they lost Tyreek Hill in the offseason. We know that.
Yep.
And in the Super Bowl, you had Kadarius Toney, who they traded for, who it wasn't working out in New York,
Right.
was kind of
He
an
was hurt.
afterthought,
Yeah, he was
sort
kinda
of.
hurt,
He
too.
had injury problems, all that.
Yep.
Sort of an afterthought by the time he got traded to the Chiefs. He scores a touchdown and makes a big punt return in the Super Bowl.
Right.
Sky Moore hasn't done anything all season.
I know.
And
I
he
know.
scores a touchdown.
There was always that one player.
That's what great coaching is, though.
That's right.
Right? Because year after year after year with the salary cap, you're not gonna have, two wide receiver ones and a great tight end and a great offense. You're not gonna have everything every year.
Yep.
So how can your coach and your elite quarterback
No doubt.
make everybody else better around you?
Right. Get them open and give them the ball on time.
And that's how you win Super Bowls.
Yeah.
You
Yep.
don't win Super Bowls because you have the best, like the Rams last year, the best roster in the league, bar none.
Right.
You're not going to do that year after year after year after year. It's not going to happen.
No, right.
So
The
how do you
salary
have a
cap won't allow
coach?
it.
How do you have a coach that can consistently figure out how to get the most out of what he's got?
Right.
And how do you have a quarterback that does the exact same thing?
Well, and you got to think. I mean, look, Tyreek Hill's phenomenal because of his speed, but you also got to give the credit to Andy for getting him open as much as he did.
1,000%.
How many times was that guy streaking across? And because of his speed, nobody could keep up with him, and
Right.
rightfully so. So he's sitting there going, okay, well, let's find another guy that can run like that.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. Like Agnew can be all of that. Not maybe to that extent. You don't have to catch, tens of balls, you know what I mean? Like a bunch of catches and stuff like that. But he should be part of your offensive game plan.
We did
That's
that this
speed.
year, though.
No.
Like, Zay Jones was never anything special.
Right.
He comes to Jacksonville. He has a career year.
Yep.
Evan Ingram was forgotten about in New York. Please get him the hell out of here. He can't catch the ball. Now he's like, he's one of the best tight ends in the game.
And Kirk was always known, pretty well known, but man, he really had a great year too.
Christian Kirk, it's a slot guy. You're paying a slot guy all this money,
I
blah, blah,
know.
blah.
Yeah.
He was fantastic.
Yep.
But that's what happens when you have a quarterback and a coach that set everyone up to succeed.
Yeah. But you also need, as you look, you can, if you come right down to why the Chiefs won the Super Bowl from a high level looking at it, they won the line of scrimmage.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
They won the line of scrimmage.
In the second
Still
half,
have
that
to
Chiefs
have.
offensive line
Oh,
was bullying the Eagles. And they haven't been bullied all year.
they've bullied all year. They could stop the run all year. They couldn't stop any. Pacheco, that guy is, man, he runs angry. I love the way that kid runs.
Isaiah Pacheco, perfect example.
Yeah.
That guy is a 7th-round draft pick,
Out of
man.
Rutgers. Yep.
But he went to a team that sets him up to succeed.
Yeah. Well, and his speed.
If Isaiah
speed is
Pacheco
huge.
went to, I don't know, some random team that was
Jets.
just average.
You
Yeah,
wouldn't even hear about him.
right. He'd
Right.
be he may have been okay
But
and
you watch.
maybe a decent fantasy guy
Yep.
or whatever, but
Yep.
he was a weapon
Listen,
for
the
them.
game, it's already changing to that, but it's more of that to come. Getting you open.
Yes.
And now it's going to be fun to see how defenses figure this out. How are they going to figure this out? I tell you, I've got an idea. You want to hear my idea?
Absolutely.
And I'll share it. I don't care. Whatever. Use it if it works. How can we – so say, how do they – on offense, they figure out motion. They figure out what you're in a lot, either man or zone, by what?
Motion.
Motion.
Yep.
So can my guys be smart enough to where it looks like man, but then we play zone? Does that make sense? So if I'm the nickel and I'm going to run with my guy, but now we're zone and the zone changes. I look like man because I'm going with him, but the zone's changed now, right? So if I'm the curl guy,
Like me in the outside corner swap zones.
then I
now.
got to go to the flat. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
because this guy's going to the other side. We got to shuffle it
Right.
down to cover all the zones. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Why can't we do that? Because if you're now you'll do that, and the offense will figure it out, right? Because they will. They'll be like, all right, that's a. But if you could do that, think about that. If you could look like you're in man, but then play zone. The guys think you're playing zone. It's different than playing half zone, half man. I don't understand that. Supposedly that is what Mike Caldwell runs from time to time. I think they changed that because it was confusing because you're taking your guy from zone or man into zone. You're still running with him. I'm like, well, that's man. I don't understand that. But if you could disguise what you're in based on who handles that motion, that's the next thing for defensive coordinators to do, I think. Because that's how else are you going to figure it out, right? Even a tight end swap. Well, maybe I got two outside backers. Now we swap. Now
Also,
you got this and I got this. I mean, it's a lot of thinking.
Yeah.
You have to, but If you study it enough, you should be able to do it like that after a certain period of time.
Also, in terms of the draft process and evaluating talent and who you want on your defense, I think, about 10 years ago, there was a huge shift in the way that corners were evaluated and drafted. They started getting much bigger and much more physically imposed. Richard Sherman was kind of the first one because defense coordinators were saying, look, I got these 6'5" receivers and my 5'10" corners manning up on them. Like, what are we doing?
On top of that, too, the 5-yard rule is in effect. So you could maul at a smaller size, but not
correct.
Not after.
Exactly.
So you want someone that can handle in that 5-yard range, and the same size and speed and structure can help that more than not.
And then, so I think the next step as well to try to figure out how to guard guys like Kelsey is I think defenses need to start drafting backers. They already have
Derwin James.
Yes.
Get the Derwin James.
You need backers and safeties that can man up on big tight ends better.
Yeah.
Because,
there's another thing. Maybe your safety and your backer can swap if he's fast enough.
Yeah.
You telling me Nick Bolton or Willie Gay can't handle the safety position for a snap when you don't know they're doing it? You know what I mean?
Right.
I don't know. I think there's going to be, I think that the whole point is that's going to be interesting how we combat this. Because right now the offense is at an advantage, not just for the rules, but the way they call plays and the way they get guys open. So there's got to be a way to defend that. Trust me, defensive coordinators will be studying it and studying it and studying it till they figure out a way to at least control it. All right, that's going to do it this time around here on a Tuesday. We'll be doing it every Tuesday and Friday, maybe a little bit more. We'll see about that. But Tuesday and Friday right here from the 1010XL studios on 1010XL.com, of course, on Facebook, and streaming live on the relevant app on the Jaguar Fanatics channel. Free download, then search for the channel, the Jaguars channel, and you'll catch some great content. A lot of fans are on there interacting pretty much on a daily basis. Hey, this show, if I may end this show with remembrance of my next-door neighbor, Lisa Tolbert, who passed away over the weekend. She battled cancer as best she could. I'll always remember her as a very kind, sweet, and loving soul. Her husband, Dave, and their kids were good friends, and, man, we feel for them because it's a tough one. I'll tell you this. Dave and Lisa came to one of the Dad Bod shows at Colhane's last year when she was feeling pretty good. And she had the time of her life. She was dancing. She was happy. It was great to see. And that's how I'm going to remember her, because that's how she was every time that she would say hello to Tommy Mack. And that's what she called me, which was great. God love you, girl. Rest in peace. And, hey, thoughts and prayers not only to the Tolbert family, but to everybody that goes through a loss like that. It's never easy to say goodbye to someone you love, especially when it's so tragic. I know for me, I believe in heaven. So I believe all the good people go to heaven, and I'm trying my best to get there so I can see all my loved ones when my time is up. So you do you, and I'll do me, but that's what gets me through. So God bless everybody out there, man. Live life to the fullest. I'm telling you right now, hug the kid, hug the ones you love, and tell them you love them every chance you get, because you never know what tomorrow is going to bring. Until next time, stay cool and be safe out there. We'll see you right here on Catching Up with Tommy Mack. Peace.